Hi everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the webinar, New Platform for Nonprofit Financial Analysis with Pamela Jowdy and Rebecca Thomas. My name is Lauren Walensky and I am the Membership Director here at GuideStar. A few quick housekeeping items before we begin. As I've mentioned, and if you haven't already, please take a second to mute your phone line if you're able so we can cleanly record this presentation. We have a small select audience today by design. You have all been invited due to your status as a valued GuideStar member, and we are very pleased to be bringing you this first look at Financial Scan. And due to the audience size and topic, we're happy to take questions from all of you after the presentation. We'll try to answer as many as we can before our time is up. To submit a question at any time, you can use the question feature on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We will also send you an email with a link to today's presentation and a recording within a few days. I'm now happy to introduce Pamela Jowdy, Senior Product Manager here at GuideStar.
Thanks, Lauren, and good morning or afternoon, respectively, to our West and East Coast colleagues. I am the one responsible for the presentation mode being enabled and disabled, so apologies to the group for that. But I think we're ready to get started. Really pleased to have you here today. And quickly, I want to introduce a colleague of mine at NFF, Rebecca Thomas. Rebecca has been my partner in crime on this project for the past year, and NFF brings so much value to the discussion today and to this product, and you'll learn much more and hear much more from Rebecca shortly. So Rebecca, thanks for carving out time to be with us today. And some of you know me, and for those of you who do not, my job here at GuideStar is to bring business solutions that can integrate with your back-end processes just to make your lives at work easier every day. And sometimes that means a brand new product and solution like Financial Scan. Sometimes it's an iteration on a current product like Premium. So we'd love to get your feedback today and as we move ahead. Today's objectives. First, Rebecca is going to walk you through some of the background about the partnership and the evolution of this product, and talk more about the business problem in this case. I'm going to walk you through the details of the product and who we think some key beneficiaries might be and how they might use the tool. Rebecca will talk more about the actual product features and attributes, and I will take you through a demo and also talk about pricing and next steps. And we're going to carve out a lot of time at the end for a good discussion and also broach some common questions that we typically receive.
Presentation mode is now enabled.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. I'm pleased to introduce Rebecca Thomas. Rebecca, take it away.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
About this exciting product innovation that NFF has developed in partnership with my colleagues at GuideStar. As Pam mentioned, NFF and GuideStar came together in early 2011 to build a data platform that we intended to leverage NFF's experience in nonprofit finance with GuideStar's really unmatched access to nonprofit financial data. And the ultimate goal was to bring transparency and comparability to financial information across the sector. Before I get too far, I wanted to just make sure I took a few moments to share with you a little bit about the Nonprofit Finance Fund for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization. We were founded about 30 years ago, and we're really in the business of linking money to mission. And what I mean by that is we provide capital and strategic advice to nonprofits to help them build a stronger financial foundation so they can more effectively serve their communities. Specifically, we do this by offering a range of loan products, equity-like investments, and consulting support to nonprofits across the country. Ultimately, all of our services, whether they're in the area of financing or consulting, are designed to help organizations stay in balance so that they are more able to adapt to changing financial circumstances and grow and innovate as appropriate and when they're ready. We also work very closely with the funding community to improve the giving of money in the sector and to maximize the investment and the impact of grant making. We're based in 7 cities around the country. We serve all subsectors in the nonprofit sphere, And with Financial Scan, really what NFF did was set out to provide the field with a cost-effective yet comprehensive way of conducting nonprofit financial analysis that was based on all of our experience consulting and lending to nonprofits over 30 years. So Financial Scan, which we're going to be talking to you about today, is really premised on our belief that organizational effectiveness is very much influenced and driven by a strong business model and balance sheet. We believe that if organizations have access to enough of the right kinds of resources, they will be more effective in delivering their programs and achieving their missions. As you all know, there are many obstacles to achieving financial health in the nonprofit sector, but a big one is that the field lacks a common language and understanding of what it takes to be financially healthy. So SCAN is really meant then to demystify nonprofit data and illuminate nonprofit financial health, to provide nonprofits and their supporters with the financial data and education they need so that everyone can be on the same page about what an organization needs to be in business and in balance. What we're most excited about with Financial Scan is the product's potential to become a new industry standard for nonprofit evaluation and analysis. We'd like SCAN to change the conversation about what nonprofits need to be stable and effective. So we have a series of goals that we've set forth here. They are, first, we hope the product will deepen users' understanding of the financial dynamics, both strengths and weaknesses, of individual organizations. Second, the product is intended to allow for meaningful comparison among and between nonprofit organizations. Third, it's really important to us that we offer NFF's perspective and insights into why this data matters. So throughout the scan, as you'll see, there's a lot of information to help the user understand what kinds and amounts of financial resources nonprofits need to run their organizations. And then I would argue this fourth bullet point is probably the most important, which is that we want to really create a level playing field for nonprofit financial analysis so that everyone involved in making social impact can have a data-driven conversation about the financial health and needs of nonprofit organizations. Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the business challenge. Why now? Why did we build Financial Scan, and what problem are we trying to solve? Right now, there really is, as I mentioned before, no industry-wide standard for talking about nonprofit financial health. Financial Scan is the first product out there that can provide what we believe to be a high level of automated and comprehensive financial analysis. We hope that we will eliminate once and for all the focus on overhead and other spending ratios as the core focus in nonprofit data analysis, metrics that we believe have really very little bearing on a nonprofit's efficiency and its ultimate effectiveness and impact. So what we have not created and what you're not going to see today is a rating site that evaluates nonprofit performance absent organization and environmental context. You're going to see a comprehensive analysis that tries to put everyone on the same page about what to look for and why it matters. And the other thing I want to say here is that the other thing we want to do is cut down on the time it takes to do this kind of work within your institutions. It happens sort of on both sides of the aisle. Nonprofits are asked to produce voluminous data points, data sets, and reports for their funders, which distracts them from doing what they do best, which is spending time on their organizations and programs. And meanwhile, what we see all the time is that nonprofit supporters spend a great deal of time poring over these data sets and trying to draw sound conclusions with occasionally uneven expertise and certainly inconsistent information. So SCAN is really meant to address all of these issues. What would success look like? Well, we hope that the data standards that are put forth in SCAN will lead to better investment decisions by grant makers and better investment deployment by nonprofits. We hope that Financial Scan will provide financial clarity that can contribute to improved nonprofit planning, management, and governance. We intend that the product will increase transparency and collaboration among everyone involved in the nonprofit space. And at the end of the day, We hope that over the long term, that the financial data made available in Financial Scan, when combined with robust program data, will lead to more money flowing to more healthy, effective organizations. And now I'm going to pass it over to Pam to talk a little bit more about the product.
Thanks, Rebecca. So that was a great overview of how we got to the actual payoff, which is the product. And I just want to take you through a few intermediate steps. We've been actively talking to over 40 product advisors since last fall. And you can see on slide 12 here that they fall across all kinds of different user profiles. Foundations, obviously, nonprofits, premium subscribers that are already using one of our research tools, just friendly users that we reach out to from time to time, and a lot of registered users on the GuideStar site that are professionals, wealth managers and the like, that really haven't engaged with us on the product front yet. So it's all about iteration. We've been talking to these folks actively using all kinds of different methods, from surveys to interviews to some usability labs, and all matters in between. Just on slide 13 is an overview of the folks that were really key in our discussions from the nonprofit and funder lens. Just want to thank those partners again. They really informed the development of this product. And in terms of who we think is going to use the product and how it might actually benefit them day to day, we've broken that down into three main buckets. The first of which is the nonprofit executive director or leader. Certainly we can see nonprofits and the nonprofit product advisors that we spoke with really validated the idea of using Financial Scan as an annual financial checkup, certainly for review at management and board levels. Obviously, it's very helpful to inform budgeting processes and strategic planning discussions, a great way to get consultants or other third parties jump-started into kind of the underpinnings of a nonprofit and how they work from a fiscal standpoint, and certainly a great training resource for new executives and board members. So we got a lot of good validation in our discussions with these product advisors, and that's certainly a key constituency for us. Obviously, right behind that are folks like you. The same kind of financial checkup concept comes into play for your grantees. Certainly a benchmarking tool. We'll talk much more about that once we jump online for the demo. We think this product does a pretty good job of giving a nice visual representation of trends, and certainly helping to ramp up the education angle among program officers and bring some consistency to that process. And as Rebecca alluded to earlier, it's all about really engaging grantees in a dialogue about how important financial health is and how that can fuel their bottom line and impact to the sector. And obviously documentation for all of these different user profiles, documentation becomes a lot easier, certainly streamlined and more reliable. And lastly, the professional intermediary. And by intermediary, I just mean anyone that is a professional that actually services the nonprofit sector. We've talked to many folks who would love to have this tool available to help them in their charitable giving planning for clients. Obviously, those that manage the assets of nonprofits, this is a great tool, again, to bring a consistent lens of analysis to the table, and certainly for prospecting purposes as well. So that's an overview of who we think might use the product and how they might use it. Rebecca, I'm going to toggle back to you to talk more about the feature stack, benefits, and then I'll jump into the demonstration when you're finished.
Great, thanks, Pam. And here on this slide, you just see a quote from one of our advisors and funders to the product, Kathy from Packard Foundation, who has been just really instrumental to NFF and provided real leadership to the product and to getting it to where it is today. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about what you can get and what's available as part of the Financial Scan product. And the first thing I want to say is that the Financial Scan is available to the user in two ways, both as an online interactive tool and as a PDF report that can be downloaded, printed, and saved after you've been through the online interface. It's on the online interface where you come to purchase the Financial Scan, to select the organization and the peers that you want to look at, and to do a high-level analysis. It's in the PDF that you're going to get a much more detailed and comprehensive assessment of the organization's financial condition over time, and we'll show you both of those pieces. So what are the components? First, there's a financial health dashboard, which looks at financial trends and ratios for one organization over a period of up to 5 years. Second, there's a section, and this is available only through the PDF, that provides over a dozen graphs that look at data over 5 years again, as well as supporting narrative and educational text that provides the user with a much more nuanced overview of the organization's expense and revenue dynamics, their profitability trends, the health of their balance sheets, and ultimately key liquidity metrics. And then finally, there's a peer comparison section, which allows the user to compare one nonprofit with up to 5 peer groups and also to do an evaluation of its condition against the peer median. So the PDF report, which is available after you've downloaded the online and after you've been through the online experience, really contains all of the items I just referred to: the dashboard, the graphs, the educational context, a peer comparables dashboard. It also includes glossary and definitions. It's really important to us that everyone who uses Financial Scan understands where the data came from and how we made the calculations, and also why we are using the terms that we've chosen to use throughout the report. So there's a very detailed glossary available both online and offline. The report is time and date stamped, and it's important to say up front that everything you're going to be looking at comes from data derived directly from the IRS Form 990. This is a look at the financial health dashboard. Pam's going to take you through the online experience in a minute, so what I'm showing you now are screenshots that come from the PDF report. What you see here is the financial health dashboard for one organization. As you can see, it looks at the organization's income statement at the top, as well as metrics derived from its balance sheet towards the bottom, and that data is looked at over a 5-year period. We've chosen at NFF the metrics that we think are most important to look at when evaluating an organization's financial condition over time, and when looking at this data from the Form 990. So one of the things that many of you are probably familiar with is the great differences between Form 990 data and audited information. And we've gained a great deal of experience over our 30 years analyzing nonprofit finances with both forms, and have a pretty good sense of what you can use when you're looking at the 990 and what you can't and perhaps shouldn't be using. So to give you just an example, when we look at profitability at NFF, we always look at whether an organization is profitable on an unrestricted basis. That information is not available directly from the income statement in the Form 990, and so we've calculated it on the balance sheet. That's a very kind of wonky example, but I'm providing it just so you can all get a sense of the background and the thinking that went into choosing which metrics to present to the outside world from the 990 data. And the last thing I'll say is that at the very bottom of this dashboard, you see something called key data checks. And this is where we alert the user to any data entry errors or any digitization errors that we might have been able to catch in doing the automated analysis. So for example, if an organization's balance sheet doesn't balance, we would alert the user to that situation as part of the process. The next section available in the PDF is the graphs, narrative, and questions to consider. So as I mentioned before, we have over a dozen graphs that delve much deeper into the themes that you just saw on the dashboard. Underneath each graph is some narrative that explains NFF's perspective on why the information is important and what to pay close attention to. So for example, in the profitability section, we'll talk about the importance of profits and the size of surpluses that are required to meet organizations' ongoing liquidity and savings needs. Here's a graph of estimated full costs where we'll talk about the fact that covering your direct and indirect expenses isn't enough, that organizations also need to be thinking about those very real costs that go into strengthening and building their balance sheet. In the liquidity section, we'll talk about the importance of board designated reserves and savings. So a lot of perspective throughout the entire PDF report, and under each graph are 3 to 5 questions for the user to consider as part of the analysis, questions that you might want to ask your grantees or your potential grantees as part of your due diligence process.
That would be a good learning tool for us, maybe questions we haven't thought of.
Yeah. And then finally, we arrive at the peer comparables dashboard, which allows the user to look at the target organization or the organization that they evaluated and looked at as part of the dashboard against up to 5 peers. This dashboard looks at the most recent year of financial information available. So here we're looking at the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Greater Miami compared to 5 other Big Brothers and Big Sisters organizations in different locations. And Pam will show you how we help you do the search for the peers that you're looking for. We use on this dashboard the exact same metrics that we used in the financial health dashboard that you saw previously. The only difference here is that you're looking at 5 organizations. And on the far right side, you're looking at the median value for the peer group so that you can say to yourself, well, I'm looking at profitability now, and my Big Brothers and Big Sisters on the far left had a change in unrestricted net assets of $435,000, and that was a bigger profit, a much bigger profit than the median for the peer group, which was $214. Great. So now what I'm going to do is pass it back over to Pam, who is going to walk us through the online interface.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hopefully everybody can see the welcome screen for our online report generation tool. Basically, this is a 3-step process. We're going to select the organization that we actually want to run the financial scan analysis on. We're then going to select some peers to compare against that nonprofit, and then we're going to generate a report. So to get started, I'm going to do a quick search here for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and in this use case, I'm going to pretend I don't have the specifics, and I need to look at a result set. So on this search, you can see I've got a big chunk of results, 738 organizations, not surprisingly. What I'm going to do is take advantage of these narrow your results tools on the right-hand side of the page. I'm going to look specifically at Florida, and there are 30 organizations in Florida. And now you can see I'm down to result sets of 30. And in this case, I know I'm looking for the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Greater Miami. So we'll always give you the EIN, city, state, zip, and give you some of the key metrics for the most currently available fiscal year as part of the result set to be sure you can find the organization you're looking for. Of note, if you needed to, you could also sort on a number of different variables alphabetically by income, expenses, or assets. So I'm going to go ahead and select Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Greater Miami. This is the organization I want to run my financial scan report on. And right now, behind the scenes, our tool is generating a financial health dashboard that will look very similar to the one that Rebecca showed you in the PDF report a few minutes ago. A couple of online enhancements that I'll walk you through when the report generates. Okay, so here we go. This is the online version of the financial health dashboard. You'll notice a couple of things. Again, at the top, we've given you some basic 411 type of information about the organization, and we'll bring in its mission statement as well. And into the meat of the report, you can see again expense, revenue, profitability, balance sheet composition, and liquidity breakdowns. And we've done a couple of things here to help the user, especially the less informed financial neophyte like me. There are some tooltips that we've included that are pretty robust, really helping to set the context for why these categories even matter, just to really help frame the discussion for all of the data on the page. So we encourage folks to take advantage of those. I know I personally refer back to them often just to kind of level set the discussion based on the organization I'm reviewing. Again, this is a 5-year scan across the page, just like you saw in the PDF version of the report, and we do include those key data checks at the bottom if there are errors or omissions on the 990 itself. We've also included a quick link to definitions and formulas. If I did launch that, you could actually see a full glossary that would actually include what line items from the Form 990 went into a calculation of any of the items on this page. So very good resource for our more advanced users. And that's the financial health dashboard at a glance. A lot of our product advisors told us that they needed to just print this as a single-page PDF without the 31 pages of detailed graphs and such. To do that, we can click on this link at the top. That'll generate a single-page PDF if that's what you need for documentation or presentation purposes. So that's step one. We've found our target organization, and we've taken a quick look at their financial dashboard. Now I'm going to move on to selecting peers, which is step two. You'll notice we've got some advanced search criteria for selecting peers. Some folks are going to know exactly who their peers are. Most of our nonprofits know off the top of their head who their top 3 or 4 peers are. If you know that, you can enter EINs here. If you need to conduct a more general search, you can do that as well. In this case, again, I'm going to keep it pretty broad with big brothers and big sisters. You can select multiple states here, multiple NTEE codes if you would like. I'm actually going to take advantage of these free text fields for revenue, expenses, and assets and look for big brothers, big sisters within a certain expense range. This is a nice new feature that we're implementing across GuideStar just to give everyone more latitude in terms of how they search for organizations. Instead of predefined ranges, we're letting the user make those decisions now. So I'm going to kick off this search for peers. And in this case, our database has located 27 results that meet this criteria within this expense range and with these keywords. The nice part about this page is that I can add peers by using these quick buttons at the right. If I needed to refine further, I could. And again, same general design as you saw on the target org search results. We'll always show you revenue, expenses, and assets for the most currently available fiscal year. So in this case, I'm going to add my first peer. I can add up to 5, just keep that in mind. And an overlay box appears that basically walks me through the process. Lets me know I've selected my first of 5, who that is. I can continue back to the search results to select more peers. And I'm going to go ahead and continue this for up to 5. If at any point you needed to kick off a new search, if you didn't want to search for Big Brothers anymore and you wanted to search for something, new search term, you could do that via this link as well. So I'm just going to keep going here and round out my comparison set up to 5. And you'll notice that as I add these, the button changes dynamically to let you know that the peer is already in your set for comparison. Okay, so I've loaded in my 5 peers. If I wanted to remove any one of them, I could, but this looks like a good set to me. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the comparables dashboard that Rebecca reviewed with you a few minutes ago. I can do that here in the overlay window, or I can do it up at the top of the page, this action button. And that should be coming up any second now. Thanks for bearing with us. All right, here we go. So once again, this is the comparables analysis for the selected nonprofit, the Greater Miami branch of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Again, we've laid out each of the peers below that selected organization, and we list at the top the most currently available fiscal year for each one of the peers. So my selected organization, the most current year is 2010. That 2010 data will be compared against, in this case, 2009 data for the first 3 nonprofits, 2010 in the case of the National Capital Area, and then again 2009 for the Columbia Northwest version. So we're basically doing a 1-year comparison for all of these peers. So again, we've implemented tooltips here, again, to be sure we're contextualizing the analysis. You can see in the first column that's shaded a little bit, you can see your selected organization's metrics, and then we bounce that up against each other peer, and you, again, can look at medians here. If you need, again, to reference those formulas and calculations, you can do that via the link at the top. And the final step is to generate the report. Just a quick note again, if you needed to just generate this peer dashboard for benchmarking purposes and not the 31-page report, you have that ability here. You can just click this link and generate a PDF of just this peer analysis. And at this point, I would click the Generate Report button, and that will actually kick off the PDF report generation process. I'm not going to take everyone through that. It's more administrative than anything else. But you basically can kick off your report, generate it, and GuideStar will save it in an archive so that you can always get back to it at a later date and time. And that's a high-level overview of how the online report generation process works. So just to recap, Financial Health Dashboard gives you what you need at a glance for your selected nonprofit. The PDF version also includes 13 graphs with that rich qualitative questions to consider and narrative that NFF has provided. Right behind that, our peer comparables dashboard allows for quick benchmarking of up to 5 nonprofit organizations. The glossary is a great resource for terms and calculations and formulas. And we already talked about date and timestamped reporting and the fact that all data is sourced from Forms 990. So let's talk quickly about possible enhancements. What we saw today was what we're calling version 1.0. We've already gotten great feedback from product advisors, early adopters, internal folks, and other stakeholders about what else this tool might do. And we just wanted to show you a few of those things just to let you know we're thinking about it and that we expect this list to grow and change, honestly, over the coming months. One thing we heard loudly and clearly from nonprofits in particular is the ability to add comments. That would certainly help a nonprofit tell a story beyond the numbers, especially if they were between fundraising campaigns and capital campaigns or in some sort of transition. Just the ability to tell their story beyond the numbers. Obviously, funders were pretty excited about that as well. We've already looked very closely at the idea of adding a subsector analysis. How does my nonprofit compare against a group of related nonprofits, either by geography or NTEE code? So instead of comparing 1 to 5, comparing 1 to many. The ability to access Forms 990 for each one of these organizations directly in the product. We've heard a lot, especially from our funders, about the ability to download this data. So can I download the Financial Health Dashboard into an Excel spreadsheet and manipulate it offline? That sort of thought track. The ability to save peer groups. The list goes on, and I will call some attention to the last item on the page, which is the ability to infuse some qualitative content, some program data integration into this product. So getting a bit out of the quantitative and more into the qualitative to kind of complete the picture. And that's something we are already investigating and continue to hear back from our product advisors on. So the proposition, how can I get Financial Scan? We basically are bringing Financial Scan to market in 2 ways. One, to address regular ongoing use, and that would be through an annual subscription. And the second means is to provide nonprofits a low-cost access point to the same information on their individual organization. So on slide 28, I just call your attention to the annual subscription column. The product will be $2,500 per year per user, and that gives a user 12 months of unlimited access. They can run as many financial health dashboards and peer analyses as they want, and obviously we'll save all those reports for them. If you happen to have GuideStar Premium, there will be an integration layer there as well, so you can toggle between Premium and Financial Scan via single click. Important distinction here is that this is $2,500 per user per year. So if ABC organization had 12 users, they would buy 12 seats each at $2,500 per year. And then the Express Pass, we're really excited about this. $250 for a 48-hour period lets a nonprofit run a financial health dashboard on their own organization, and they can, against that organization, run an unlimited number of peer analyses. Again, we know that most nonprofits want to run 3 or 4 peers through the funnel, but we want to give them that unlimited option just to keep everyone calibrated. A little bit more about the Express Pass. I'm not going to go through everything on this slide except to say that purchasers actually pre-qualify before they check out. They actually have to enter their EIN of their nonprofit. We will give them a confirmation message to say, yep, your organization is in our database. We've got enough information on it. We can generate a report. And then that EIN follows through their checkout process. So they will only get a financial health dashboard on their own organization. The last bullet here is important, and we continue to get this question, and we're pleased we have a solution. Funders may purchase a bundle of Financial Scan nonprofit passes on behalf of their grantees. So if you have a program area or a bunch of grantees, there is a way for you to purchase the product through GuideStar and then bestow access to your specific nonprofits so that they can run their own analyses and really start getting into this conversation about financial health. This is just a quick backup slide so you can see where folks pre-qualify if they're a nonprofit and their quick message kind of confirming that their report data is available. So that rounds out our discussion about the product, how to get to it, and how it works. We wanted to present a few common questions to start a hopefully broader discussion with all of you about questions you've been submitting during this session. Rebecca, do you want to take these?
Great. Thanks, Pam. So I'm going to talk about those questions that we've anticipated you may have, although I'm sure you have many others after what you've heard today. The first, how does Financial Scan compare to other data platforms? We believe that Financial Scan presents a more comprehensive picture of financial health than is currently available via other platforms online in the nonprofit sector. As I think I said in the beginning, we've not built a rating system that is designed to evaluate nonprofit performance. This is really meant to be used as a conversation starter about an organization's financial health and resource needs. It applies metrics that shed light on, as you've seen, overall financial health, and we think it's an improvement over platforms that focus on more limited measures like overhead ratios or growth rates and so forth. We're going to help users of Scan understand why revenue reliability year in and year out is more important than the breakdown of contributed versus earned revenue. We're going to tell users what to look for to determine whether a nonprofit is covering its full costs rather than just its program expenses. The second question, does Financial Scan include mission and impact data? As you saw, Financial Scan does include the mission statement of the target organization, but no, it does not combine program metrics with financial metrics in its current form. There are many reasons for that. One is that NFF wanted to focus on doing what we do best, which is being best in the class in the area of financial analytics. The second is that the sector really still lacks, as you all know, comparable cross-sector impact data. And so at the moment, there wasn't a logical partner in this area. That being said, it is something that NFF and GuideStar certainly want to explore down the road, which is whether there are other partners who can help us connect the program story to the financial story. Third, how big is the Financial Scan universe? Through this product, you can look at up to 280,000 nonprofit organizations if you so desire. The one thing I will mention is that it only uses the Form 990 data, so filers of the Form 990 EZ will not be included in the Financial Scan universe. If they filed 990 some years and 990 EZs other years, this product will include the years when they filed the regular Form 990. So that limits the scan for organizations that are under $250,000 in annual budget size and $500,000 in assets. And then finally, how can I get my grantees involved? As I think we've sort of stressed throughout today, we built the Financial Scan to improve dialogue between grant makers and grantees. In NFF's experience, the numbers certainly tell a story, but one that needs to be further fleshed out with the organizational context and the environmental context. So in that sense, getting grantees involved in their own financial analysis is absolutely central to our mission and to what we hope will happen with Financial Scan. So one of the things we're encouraging funders to think about is whether they might provide grantees with the Nonprofit Express Pass that Pam shared with you earlier as part of capacity building efforts. We did have one funder last week actually raise this question with us, say that we're interested in purchasing possibly a bundle of scans for our grantees and making the product available alongside a limited amount of NFF advisory work. So there are certainly many ways that this product has been designed to, again, bridge the divide and make the conversation a much more mutual one. And then I think that's it for the pre-planned questions. I'm now going to turn it over to Lauren at GuideStar, who's going to handle your your questions for our remaining time together.
Thanks, Rebecca. Rebecca and Pam, thank you so much. I think you all were so thorough in anticipating the questions. Right now we don't have many coming in. I've got just one that is in there, so I'm going to ask that. Anyone else listening in, there is definitely time if you'd like to ask a question. I'll ask this one, and then we can follow up with a few closing thoughts. The question I have is how can I buy? And I think, Pam, this slide helps talk about that, and if you just want to quickly touch on the purchasing process, that would be great.
Sure. How can you buy? There are two ways to purchase. One is to actually go directly on our website, and you can buy it there and check out via our e-commerce system, typical shopping cart, and you would need a credit card to do that. You can see the link there in the middle of slide 33. Or alternatively, you can reach directly out to Lauren, and she can handle a different transaction where you'd be invoiced, and we can set things up for you behind the scenes. Again, it's $2,500 per year per user.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to give a few closing remarks. If anyone has any other comments, feel free to send them over at this time. I just want to thank Pam and Rebecca for taking the time to be here today. We really appreciate it. And of course, for all of you on the phone, thank you so much for being with us. Please do remember that as a valued member of our GuideStar funding family, we've given you a confidential first look of this product, which is scheduled to be publicly announced on April 10th. So we will be sending out an email soon with today's presentation and recording, but we ask that you limit distribution to within your own organization. As soon as this WebEx event ends, 2 web pages will pop up. One has a brief survey about today's webinar, and one has the landing page with information, examples, and ways to purchase Financial Scan. If you have any further questions, my email address is there. Feel free to contact me at lwolinsky@guidestar.org. And thank you again for joining, and everyone have a great day.